What would you do if you discovered books in your child's school library that were, let's say, less than child friendly? And let's say that you talked to the teachers, the principal, and even the school board, and they did nothing to remove such books. Well, that's not a hypothetical question for one of our guests today who discovered pornographic books in her child's middle school library in Louisville. So, what do you do with that? Joining us today is Miranda Stovall. She is the wife and mother of 4 children and also the co-founder of Freedom in Education, where she is the manager of community engagement. Miranda, welcome to the program.
Thank you. It's so nice to be on.
Also joining us is Beanie Gohagen. She's also a co-founder of Freedom in Education and manager of content and solutions. Welcome to the Commonwealth Matters.
Thank you so much. I'm also a wife and mother of 4 kids, so it's a club, right? It's a good club to be a part of.
Okay. Yeah, well, that's great. And that's probably one of the things, Beanie, that motivates you to do what you're doing. Of course, I've known both of you for a couple of years now, and you've participated in with different events that CPC has done. And I want to thank you at the outset for your willingness, both of you, to engage a very difficult issue that is uncomfortable for all of us, an issue where you'd expect more parents to be involved and engaged in. And yet when you stepped out, Miranda, and I'll start with you in particular, you stepped out and you found that it was very lonely, right? And very few people are willing to speak out and to engage that issue. And so I just need to commend you and applaud you for doing that. Thank you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. It was very lonely. I mean, I was kind of shocked by the people that were okay with this certain topic.
That is the norm, by the way. I have talked with others like you across the country, including my sister, who discovered that her, my niece's high school was, they had a affirming transgender policy that they were practicing, allowing boys who identified as girls to use the public, the girls' restrooms. And my sister and brother-in-law said, hey, that can't happen. And they found themselves in a similar place where they approached teachers, principals, even talked to the school board. And very few other parents were involved early on. Over time, more parents did get involved. But I guess we'll start with this, Miranda. Was this the motivating thing for you to co-found Freedom in Education?
Yeah, I think that's the whole issue was the motivating issue for me to get deep dive in and really get involved and realize that there was issues that need solutions. And so freedom in education that's what we're all about, is solutions.
Very good. And Beanie, how about you? Was this the thing? By the way, Beanie, tell me this. What is the status of pornographic, obscene books in Jefferson County public schools right now? Have they changed anything, or are they still making these books that promote homosexuality, sexual activity with minors? Is that still available in the public schools there?
Yeah, I would actually say since Miranda made her initial appeal, they have increased in number. And I mean, they're just, and that is actually one of the reasons why Freedom in Education created the solution of the Good Book Drive, which I know we're going to talk about here in a little bit. But for every book that gets appealed that is inappropriate, regardless of whether it's because, sexually explicit content or very violent content or something of that nature, for every one that gets appealed, you're going to have 5 more that are put on the shelves. And whether those books are actually purchased by the librarians, by the schools, by the individual teachers, or whether those books are being donated by organizations with agendas to sort of corrupt our children's minds and sully their innocence, we cannot keep battling it on that end only. We have to also start, countering that with good books. And that's the thing that's, it's now time for restoration. So we know that we've allowed this evil stuff to creep into our schools. We're in the process of eradicating it and changing it. And so now we have to restore the good, the true, and the beautiful that belong on the bookshelves in these schools.
Beanie, some would call you intolerant. You're a book banner. you're for censorship, all of that. How do you address that?
Well, I am intolerant of people who want to destroy the innocence of children. I am very intolerant of that. So I suppose if they want to call me intolerant, then that label fits in that regard. As far as book banning, I certainly, and in fact, we just had a conversation this morning about a particular book that's widely popular, also inappropriate for children, and what our stance on it is. And I said that book was not written for children. It is not marketed to children. And if adults want their children to read it, then that's the decision of the adult. But as far as us as an organization speaking out about it, we don't have to speak out about every nasty book that's written, just because it's a bad book. And so we're not about book banning at all. We are about demanding that adults in charge of schools use wise discernment when choosing what is put in front of children, keeping in mind that children, and they're all children, I don't care if they're in kindergarten or high school, they are all children under the age of 18, can go into libraries or can pull a book off a shelf in a classroom, and their parents would never know. They don't have to ask permission, and the parents, the child may not ever take that book home, so the parents would never know. So I'm not about book banning. I'm about schools using wise discernment as far as what comes into the buildings. We use the same wise discernment when we decide what filters get put on the internet in schools, right? We don't allow students to sit there and scroll through pornographic websites on their Chromebooks or on their iPads in the classroom. Why would we allow them to walk into the library and pull a sexually explicit book off the shelf and essentially flip through porn, in their desk? I can't remember what the third label was that you said I would be.
Intolerant, a book banner, for censorship. So, and that's the charge that are leveled at conservatives regularly, right? We're the ones that have and I'm in the same category as you all. We're the ones that have the issue. Miranda, I want to go to you, and you've been called all these things as well. What are we talking about here? I'm recalling a story where you actually went to a school board meeting and you had one of these books that you pulled from the middle school library shelves, or it's the same one that was on the middle school library shelf of your child's school. And you were about to read a portion of that book just to give some context and clarity as to what you were concerned about. Tell us, take it from there and tell us what happened.
So I had actually previously emailed a school board member about this issue, and I was getting nowhere with that. So I decided, well, I'll go to the school board meeting and read some passages of a couple of these books that I'm trying to get addressed. And it's highly sexualized content, things that I was super surprised to see in a library book, a school library book. And I began reading, and just a few minutes, about a minute and a half maybe into my reading, I was shut down for being obscene, which was exactly my point of the books. And still nothing changed though. And I continued through that process. I think it did get out there, and it made a lot more people aware of the situation, but
So you were reading a book to the school board, which is charged with the rules of the public schools. They have some governance over curriculum. They deal with the budget, manage the budget. And you were reading something that was available in Jefferson County Public Schools, and you were cut off and said, hey, you can't read that because it's obscene. And yet, did I hear you correctly? They chose to continue to keep that book in the school libraries?
yes, and they continued to order more copies for more schools during that whole process as well. So,
Miranda, can you tell us the name of that book? Do you recall what that was?
yes, so I read from two books. One was Gender Queer, and the other one was Lawn Boy. I got shut down during Lawn Boy because of the language that book used and the descriptive paragraph I was reading out of that book. Yes, it was. Corey Scholl said it was obscene.
I would say that the objective, what is becoming clear, is that the school board would like to keep parents in the dark. They shut you down for sharing a passage out of a book that kids were able to access and to read, but they didn't want that to be revealed to the general public. And were there any consequences come election time, by the way? I know that some of these school board members were up for re-election after you presented. I think that was about 2 years ago when this first came up. Is that correct? When you first read?
Yeah, it was 2 years ago. Unfortunately, there was no consequences as far as they all were reelected. Two of the races did come very, very close, so I think it did send a message. 2 years later, is that message still intact? I don't know.
Kentucky is at a crossroads. We can choose to give in to the radical left, or we can choose to engage the culture in a God-honoring way.
I started the Commonwealth Policy Center because I believe that Christians have a responsibility to influence government and society to the glory of God. While the Commonwealth Policy Center's made a significant impact, our work isn't finished. If you'd like to join our movement working for timeless values, then head to our website.
To learn more, go to commonwealthpolicycenter.org.
Beanie, I want to go to you. Isn't it against the law to promote pornography and obscenity to minors in Kentucky? Or is it a free-for-all when it comes to promoting this kind of material?
Well, if I were to hand these books out in a public park to children that I don't know, yes, I could definitely be arrested for passing out pornography to kids. But there is a little blurb that allows schools to make an exception for educational purposes, and so that's the sort of the motive behind having these books in here, is that children need these books for educational purposes, and because of that, they are allowed to have them in there. Now, that was actually put in place so to allow anatomy teachers to discuss things like that. That's why it was originally put there, but it has of course been hijacked and is now used to justify having very sexually explicit material in libraries, because it goes under the umbrella of being for educational purposes. I will say there was, thanks to Miranda and all of her work, there was legislative action on this to give parents a bit more, it's still hard, but they at least it's a much more streamlined process to appeal these books. And the excerpts from the books that are being appealed have to be published for the whole public to see. So the excerpt that Miranda read, for instance, during the school board meeting that was shut down because it was, quote, obscene, would have to be published, let's say, in the Courier Journal for the whole general public to know this is why this book is being appealed. And I think that would alleviate some of that book banning notion that, we're not actually asking for books to be banned. We're just asking for people to use some common sense and wisdom here.
That's well put. I had a chance to see some of the pictures, and it was written in kind of a cartoon, comic book format, one of those books that you mentioned. And I had a chance to see some of the images, which were pornographic. It showed adult child sex, oral sex, graphic, and stuff that you cannot unsee. I was actually doing a public television program on that, and I was referring to one of these books, and I was asked to give a description. And I said, look, if I were to give a description or to read some of this or to even show it on the air, you could get a federal communications violation for this. And that's an indication that something is wrong and that something is not appropriate for our children. If you could get an FCC violation for reading or showing a picture of a book available in a public school, probably an indication that that's not appropriate for children. Beanie, is there an effort to clarify what education refers to as far as pornography doesn't refer or address educational purposes? Well, you're talking about anatomy class, right? If you're going to teach anatomy, male and female anatomy, it's one thing to learn about reproductive organs, but it's another to have sexually explicit content that would arouse desire, that is inappropriate behavior for minors. Two very different categories. Is there any effort that you're aware of or that your group is involved with to clarify what is obscene and then what is educational purposes?
So on our Freedom in Education website, we have, it's called ratedbooks.org, and it doesn't necessarily clarify, and it's not necessarily a legislative initiative at this point, but just like we rate movies, or video games, this rated book site offers a rating from 1 to 5, 5 being the most explicit. And in that rating system, it actually gives you excerpts from the books. So it's not just some, it is subjective, but it provides you concrete evidence for, why this book would be a rated 5, and that would help guide, like, let's say school board members or even principals of schools who are maybe given a list of books to go through, whatever. It might provide them an opportunity to say, I don't know, this one's a rated 5, and here's an excerpt that is a very graphic scene or whatever. I don't think this one belongs in our school. Maybe the 2 is a little not everybody would want their child to read it, but it wouldn't be inappropriate for school. It just might be, something that you would want to discuss with parents or something like that. So we have that rated book site. It's called ratedbooks.org, and people can access that through our Freedom in Education website as well. And I will say, to the whole what's educational and what's not educational, one of the arguments that we've been given about why these books are necessary in schools is because children come to school with lots of different experiences, and some of them have experienced traumatic things like this. And so they need these books to help them wrestle with the things that they've gone through. And our argument against that, and we've talked to mental health professionals who agree with us, is children who have suffered rape, incest, human trafficking do not need to be sitting in a classroom reading a book among 26, 25 of their peers, strangers, essentially, to help them get through this. Actually, that can be more damaging and more detrimental to them. But that was one of the reasons that we were told. It's the whole windows and mirrors, type of thing that we're like, no, you know what? Children who have experienced this type of trauma actually need the professional counseling and help way beyond what a library book can offer them. And those kinds of books can actually, I hate to use the word, but can be triggering, to students like that, and bring back things to them that they don't want to deal with sitting in a classroom full of strangers.
I will add, if I could add one thing, there is on that resource Beanie is telling you about on our website. We have updated the map on there. Kentucky is now on that map. So we are adding more books as we speak. However, there's little pin drops that you can click on, and it'll show you where these books are at, what school they are in. So it is a resource for parents to use to educate themselves on what could be lurking in their libraries.
So, Miranda, what you're talking about are you're mapping where obscene and pornographic books are actually showing up in Kentucky public schools. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I encourage you to go to your website. What is your website address?
freedomined.org.
freedomined.org. And if you click on the map link, you'll see where the pornographic books are showing up in, or what schools they're showing up in. What would you advise, Miranda, to a parent that goes to the website and discovers that they've got these kind of books in their child's public school? And by the way, just to be clear, we're not just talking about high school or middle school. We're talking about elementary libraries. We're talking about young kids, kindergartners, first, second, third graders that are exposed to some pretty vile content. And Miranda, what would be one or two things that you tell parents who discover that this is going on in their child's school?
Well, I mean, sometimes it's worth having a conversation with a principal. And if you do not get any further there, a teacher, a principal, a librarian, SB5 is always a great process to follow. It takes about 30 days to get through the process now instead of 8 months like it took me. And ultimately, it ends with, like Beanie said, the content being circulated in the newspaper. So that could help, drum up some community support behind you as well. So also, I would just say, don't be afraid. Nothing bad is going to happen at the end of the day. I know that there's a lot of culture war type behind that issue, but really truly it's it's going to be okay at the end of the day.
Yeah. Let me unpack that for a minute, if I could. When you say culture war, a controversial, emotionally charged issue like this, where there's clear right and wrong, it brings people out of the woodwork, doesn't it? And sometimes you get people that will come in front of a school board and they're just going to let that school board have it, right? They're going to rage at them and condemn them. And I think that's what you're talking about. But both of you are just regular moms and parents, and you just want what's best for your kids, healthy material that they're being exposed to. I want to go to the core principles of freedom in education. You have 5 of them. First one is well-being. You believe that each generation should ensure opportunities exist that allow the next generation to flourish. Second is authority. You believe that parents are the ultimate authority over the physical, mental, and spiritual well-being of their children. Third is self-respect. You believe in a healthy balance of self-respect and self-esteem. And providence. So I guess this is just 4. Providence is the last one. You believe that God has providence and our founding principles reflect his will. Miranda, how did you come up with these core principles in education?
Oh gosh, I believe it was our team. Beanie and I traveled to Georgia to meet with the rest of our team, and we spent a whole day. And I believe that these were the principles that all of us, just as moms, live by and believe in, and what we try to strive to raise our families with. So, of course, it would be the founding principles of our organization as well.
Very good. Now, one reason I wanted to have you both on the program is to talk about you taking a stand for what's good, exposing some real evil that was going on and being promoted in our public schools. But you're also doing something good, not just with freedom in education and your involvement with that, but you started something called the Good Book Drive. And this was brought up a couple times here. But tell us the kind of books that you're sharing and that you are promoting to the schools across the Commonwealth.
So the Good Book Drive was very near and dear to my heart because of the issue that I've gone through here in Jefferson County. We partnered with 3 different book publishers whose only agenda is good, wholesome content for children and families. And so partnering with them, we decided we should raise the money and send these books for free to teachers to put in their classrooms so children have access to these wholesome content instead of what may be lurking in the library.
So our three book publishers are Big Sky Life Books, Chicken Scratch Books, and Tuttle Twins Books. And so we have book bundles for elementary, middle, and high school books. And if you think about the books we read all throughout our childhood into our teen years, even as adults, form us and shape us. And so it matters what we're reading. It matters if we are well-formed or if we are malformed. And the books that we read are going to determine that. And so that's what we figured. There is only so much room on a bookshelf, and we need to fill them with as much good stuff as possible. And a couple of the teachers that received them were just overwhelmed with gratitude and, immediately had their kids send us thank you cards. And one of the teachers who requested books, he was in Texas, and he said that his elementary school was a book desert. And I thought, there is absolutely no reason in the world why a public school in the United States of America could be labeled as a book desert when I know that most kids in public schools today have some form of device that has been issued to them. There should be so many books in these schools that the kids can't possibly read all of them before they, leave to the next school. And to describe a book or a school as a book desert here in America was just astounding to me.
We had a teacher down in Texas who just received one of our book bundles as well, who was so excited to see some classic titles in there within that bundle and just praised them. And so it's really nice to hear teachers excited about these books as well.
The goal of the Good Book Drive is to help protect the hearts and minds of children. And you are promoting books and offering books on request to teachers and librarians who want to put them in their public school library. These are books that nurture the good, seek the true, embrace the beautiful for every child. How refreshing it is to hear that the good, the true, the beautiful. In a culture today that glorifies violence, illicit sex, bad behavior, a lot of the wrong messages that our children are getting. You are promoting books that promote the opposite things, messages and literature that leads to healthy development of them as human beings. And that's amazing. I applaud you for doing this. How many schools have you gotten books into? And then how many books total this year? We're at the end of the year. You've been doing it for about a year now?
We launched the Good Book Drive last year. So we reached 150 schools last year. Right now, we are on track with 120 schools this year. And I'm working on a third round right now. So more coming. We do have a wait list of about 100 teachers waiting for book bundles. So it's exciting. It's widely popular with the teachers. They are loving it.
Yeah. And if people are looking for a way to, I feel like there was a period of time where teachers really felt under attack in a lot of ways. They were coming, under attack from administrators, students, parents, and some of them are feeling very discouraged. And if we want to really encourage teachers, this is a great way to do it. They don't just get a book for their class, they get a bundle of books. So each bundle is about, I don't know, about $100 maybe. And within that bundle, it's just a variety. They can request which publisher they want if they want to, or they can request a particular bundle if they have a particular theme that they want. And it's just a great way to just provide encouragement to that teacher and just say, thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for caring enough about your students to desire that they see what is true, good, and beautiful, and expose them to that. One of our teachers locally, actually just right around the corner from me, she has second graders, and they got a bundle last year. And one of the favorite books in the bundle was The Pokey Little Puppy, which you might remember from your childhood. Most people who see it were like, oh, Pokey Little Puppy. But then there was another one, Andrew McCluskey, and it was all about inventions and him being sort of this amateur engineer. And she just was delighted with it. And she said, it's an older book, but it really just sparked the imagination and curiosity of her students. And that then sparked her, it's like, that's right. This is why I love teaching so much. And these teachers need this and deserve that too.
Yeah, that's good. Now, to be clear, the Good Book Drive is not the only independent effort to get books into our public schools. A major organization called GLSEN, the Gay, Lesbian, Straight Educators Network, has something called the Rainbow Library, and they raise money to get pro-LGBTQ books into the public schools. One of those books, two of those books, Miranda, you shared with the Jefferson County Public School Board, which are very controversial, promoting wrong messages, illicit sexual activity to our young people. Here's some numbers from GLSEN's Rainbow Library Project. They have gotten 8,100 K through 12 schools books. I don't know if they're bundles or they're individual books or whatever, but they've reached 8,100 schools across the country. 15% of those books are infused into class curriculum, and then 60% of those schools buy more of those books to teach the larger classroom. $28 million has been donated to the GLSEN Rainbow Library to promote messages that I would guess most Kentuckians would find objectionable and harmful and inappropriate for minors. I'm saying this as a challenge to our listeners. If you don't want to see that kind of thing happen or those kind of books promoted, then considering getting involved with the Good Book Drive, because this is, again, an effort to get good and wholesome books into our public schools that promote the good, the true, and the beautiful. How would somebody donate? I mean, is it just, do you need financial donations? Are you looking for people to buy books and give them to you, or some of both? Tell us more, Miranda. How does somebody get involved with the Good Book Drive?
So our website is set up for donations. There's a specific page on our website called the Good Book Drive where they can donate and allocate their funds directly to the Good Book Drive. And then because we have a waiting list, as we get funds coming in, we are sending those bundles out. So it's an internal process. It does take a little bit of time, but it's well worth it.
Miranda, is this tax deductible? Are you a 501c3 organization?
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay, so here it is, the end of the year. You're doing a great work. You have some needs. There's 100 schools or 100 teachers on the waiting list. You have some real needs that are there. How much does it cost to underwrite one bundle of books?
It's about $100, including shipping. So,
Okay, and how many books would be in that bundle?
it depends on which bundle is chosen, but generally 8 to 10 books.
Okay, so I'm going to just speak directly to the audience. If you want to make a year-end gift for a really good cause, promoting good books to our young people today, you can be involved with a Good Book Drive. And Miranda, tell us that website again.
freedomined.org/Good Book Drive.
And I will say on the Good Book Drive link, you can actually see some of the bundles, and you can choose if you know which publisher you want, and I believe you can even choose the type of bundle you want from some of them. So you can certainly go onto the websites of the different publishers and look at what they put out there, and we're very transparent, unlike some other people. We're very transparent about what we're putting in schools because we're very proud of it, and we think that what it is great for children and delightful for teachers to share with their children, with their students.
Agreed. Beanie, what I'm hearing here too is that there's no overhead. When somebody makes a $100 donation to get those 8 to 10 books or so into the schools, that's actually the cost of the book themselves and then the postage. Is that correct?
Yes.
In other words, neither of you are getting rich doing this. There's nobody skimming off the top, or there's no administrative cost, which by the way, your time and energy does matter for something, but you're not getting paid through the Good Book Drive. And I wanted to emphasize that.
Correct. Yes, that's why we have a separate link. Right, we have a separate link just for that, for people who want to do nothing but support the Good Book Drive. So I know some of us on the team have actually supported the Good Book Drive because we believe in it so much that, it is that important that we get good books on the shelves of classrooms and libraries for children.
Beanie or Miranda, either one of you, do you track which books or what schools in Kentucky receive the bundles of books from the Good Book Drive?
Yeah, we have a full spreadsheet. Actually, it's across the country at this point. There will be a map coming soon on our website showing exactly where all of our good book bundles have been sent out.
And I will tell you, one of the most fun things that Miranda and I got to do last year was the schools that were close to us. We actually got to go hand deliver those bundles to the teachers, and that was just that made our day. It was very exciting. So, anytime we can put good books in the hands of teachers and students, it's a good day. So, yeah, if anybody close to us wants to do that, we'd love to bring them to you in person.
Very good. What is your goal for 2025? Do you have a goal of how many schools you'd like to reach, how many teachers you'd like to get these book bundles into the hands of? What are some of your goals?
Our goal is 250 schools this year.
Well, ladies, it has been a joy having you on the Commonwealth Matters. I don't know if you have any last words or last thoughts before we close out.
No, I just want to thank you for having us on, Richard. I always enjoy speaking with you and being on your shows, so thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Well, you're welcome. I appreciate both of you and what you're doing. And I cannot emphasize enough to the audience here, if you want to get involved with something good, a good cause that impacts children for the better, that displaces negative, harmful messages in the schools with a positive, life-affirming message, get involved with the Good Book Drive and make a donation today. Here it is, the end of the year. You've got a great opportunity to be involved with this great work. Go ahead and get on that website. Thank you both so much. God bless you, and you keep up the great work.